Ujjwal, you tell us when to begin, please.
Sure, Mr. We can begin.
You can? Okay, fine. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Trade Global Stocks on NSE IFSC. We have with us Mr. Nagendra Kumar, CBO, NSE IFSC. Nagendra, thank you very much for your valuable time towards the same.
Sure.
Before we begin, and we request Nagendra to present, followed by Q&A, allow me to introduce Nagendra. Nagendra is currently driving the entire initiative of NSE IFSC's venture into trading in global stocks, where Indian retail investors will be able to trade through the LRS framework. Nagendra has over 25 years of experience in stock exchange and clearing corporation space. He has been with NSE since 1995. Nagendra has been instrumental for bringing in global HFT algo firms to India. Nagendra has been associated with some of the leading technology companies and was involved in implementing clearing, settlement, and depository solutions across the globe. He is a part of various regulatory committees and a part-time faculty in some of the leading business colleges. On that note, I would request Nagendra to begin his presentation. As members always requested, once the presentation is over, we would request to raise your virtual hand, and one by one, we'll take you inside for asking questions. So over to you, Nagendra, please.
Thanks, Vispi. Good evening to all. I would like to take this opportunity to thank BBF. Special mention to Mr. Lalitji, Vispiji, for giving us this opportunity to be here today. And to give a quick background on NSE IFSC, NSE IFSC is a 100% subsidiary of National Stock Exchange. And most of you must be aware that NSE is the world's largest derivatives exchange. And in terms of the governance framework and the ethos and the DNA, NSE IFSC just replicates what is there with its parent. We are no different from NSE in terms of how we function, in terms of how we run our business, and also in terms of our technology and operational procedures are defined. So today, I take this opportunity to give BBF members a complete overview on the first of its kind initiative. I mean, you know, it has never been done as far as the Indian markets are concerned, where an Indian investor will be able to trade on global stocks. Though we're going to start with US stocks first. So you will be able to trade global stocks on NSE IFSC platform through your registered member. So to give an overview in terms of how the market is currently structured for trading on US stocks, every Indian retail investor, as per RBI's liberalized remittance scheme is concerned, they are eligible to transfer $250,000 every year to invest outside. There are various categories in which they can actually invest this money for higher education, for investing in bonds, equities. So what we have done is we have tried to leverage on this existing framework, which is already approved by RBI. And if you guys notice, there are a lot of platforms today who offer you to trade in US stocks, right? I mean, you know, so somebody can ask me, how is it going to be different when there are already platforms like StockCal, Vested, InMoney, right? So what we wanted to highlight here is they might say that there is no transaction cost, everything is free of cost. But for every fund which is being remitted, I mean, you know, every time you do a transaction, there is a high fixed FX charge. The bank charges, because, you know, we have done a complete analysis of all the charges which are levied on the customer by the banks. And the best thing which is not known to the end investors is there is a back-to-back arrangement between the banks and the platform, right? So some of the banks charge as high as 1,000 rupees when you're remitting funds to trade in US stocks. And if you look at the bid ask also, if the RBI rate is 75, and you will get a rate which is plus or minus 2%. And you will not know where your stocks are held, because it's all held in some US entity's account, and that too in an omnibus structure. And what you get is an app. You trade on an app, and you don't know whether your order is sent to NASDAQ, NYSE, whether it is matched with a market maker or a dark pool. What you just get is a confirmation, and it is there. So imagine a situation where, see, this is completely not regulated. It is not governed by any of the regulatory framework which is imposed by SEBI, IFSC, or whatever, right? So, when you trade, and if something goes wrong, now all of you, most of the brokers here are aware of the fact that, and Mr. Lalitji also will agree, the Anugraha episode, the Karvi episode. We still have a lot of investors who are running for their money, right? In spite of trading on an exchange like NSE, BSE, in spite of having clearing corporations, depositories, regulatory structure, it is because they have not followed some basic procedures like having your quarterly statements or whatever. They're still not got their money. So being in India, and if there is a problem in India, if you're not able to get your money, if you're trading through a platform which is not regulated or having a governance structure, you can imagine what would happen if they go bust, right? So the whole idea is that we know the existing model. We know what are the challenges in the existing model. So as a leading market infrastructure provider, we did the same thing in 1995. We came up with something which was path-breaking, innovative, first of its kind, along with a regulatory and a governance structure. So we said, if this is what the market is used to, why don't we extend the same thing to Indian investors through our NSE IFSC exchange at GIFT City? So what is that we are going to do? What we are going to do is that we're going to start trading in S&P 500 basket to start with. That is primarily focused on US stocks. And somebody was asking me the other day, why are you not connecting to global markets? Why are you not connecting to the other markets? So we did a complete study and analysis in terms of where people would like to invest. So today, if you look at the investing community, the millennials or the Z group, whatever you call, they are able to relate themselves to the US stocks, right? Google, the Facebooks, the Apples and the Amazons and the Teslas. So if you pick, in one of the earlier discussions that we had with the BBF, I raised a similar issue. If you want to trade the Russian market, how many of you know the stocks in Russia? How many of you know what are the stocks in UK? You can pick 3, 4. Algeria, why do you want to invest in Algeria? How do you relate yourself to those markets? If you talk about Singapore, there is only one stock. So it is not that we are against connecting with the various markets, but taking into consideration the need of the market, where people are investing the maximum, where their funds are getting channelized the more. We said we will start with the US markets, top 50 stocks again, to test the waters, along with ETFs, and gradually expand the basket. And the entire structure, when I say the entire structure, you trade in NSE, you pay the margins to NSE, you settle in NSE, and your holdings, once a settlement happens, your holdings will be in the depository here. And when we were trying to study, we did an extensive study for 2 years. Some of my colleagues, Nitesh and Dharmesh, were part of my team, and Shank in Bombay. We have done an extensive analysis, and we figured out, we registered ourselves with all the platforms. And we also made some of our friends show demo as how it works in Charles Schwab, Robinhood, and other platforms. There is this concept of value investing. When I say value investing, you can buy fractions. So if you have $50, you can buy a Tesla. Or you can say that you want to buy 0.25% of Tesla or Amazon. So if I have to give investors what they're used to, right, I have to build in something which is similar to, what they're already experienced. It's a wow feature. Trading in fractions is wow. So what we did was, In US markets, when I'm trading with Robinhood, when I trade in fractions, Robinhood has the inventory. So when I trade, it immediately reflects, since I have an account with Robinhood, Robinhood is holding the inventory of stocks, he credits me with the fractional holding. But in IFSCA, if I have to implement fractions, not all members will be that tech savvy, because they have to have a matching platform at their end so that, they keep on supplying the inventory. So what we did was, we said, why don't we use the concept of depository receipt, right? So for the benefit of members, when we say a depository receipt, there are two kinds of depository receipts. One is sponsored, one is unsponsored. Sponsored is where the companies involved, like HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank. You have a lot of Indian companies who have issued ADRs and GDRs. Whereas in an unsponsored DR, the company is not involved. So without involving the company, you can create DRs. And I was also asked this interesting question saying, this is it not pseudo, right? Perfect. I mean, I'm not going to challenge the thought process of brokers or investors. But for the benefit of the participants, if you look at the ADR volume traded, all the institutional investors who trade, the volume is much more than some of the stocks volume at both NSE and the other exchange, in spite of NSE having 96% market share in some of the equity stocks. So DR is, excuse me, it's a time-tested, regulated framework which we wanted to leverage on and bring it to our investors. So here, what are we doing to enable the fractional part? So Amazon is close to $3,500. I mean, it's a classic example which we always talk about. So how many Indian retail investors would want to invest in a single stock of Amazon, right? You will not have many, because $3,500 is a huge amount. I mean, it's close to 2 lakhs plus. So what we said was, depending on the price of the security, we will break them into smaller units, so resulting into fractions. For Amazon, the ratio is 1:200. So you can buy an Amazon for $17.5. So we have again got a policy. Every 6 months, we will look at the price of the stock. And our fundamental principle is that the price should not exceed $25. So at any point of time, if the price is going to exceed $25, we'll again do a corporate action sort of an adjustment, just the way that, we do it for Nifty. When the value goes up, we again bring it down. So we will do an adjustment so that the investors are given that opportunity to trade at a lesser denomination. When I say a lesser denomination, in terms of value, you can buy stocks. For some of the stocks, the ratio is 50. So you can buy a fraction of a stock for as less as $10. So completely governed by IFSCA, you can trade in fractions, and any corporate action, any mandatory corporate action, we are handling as far as this framework is concerned. And everything will be in dollars, your trading and settlement. Not even a single order will cross the national frontiers. So everything will happen in IFSC, so that, when you're participating in this, you indirectly, you're contributing to the Prime Minister's vision of wanting to build this region, Atmanirbhar Bharat. And ease of access, if you're a client, what you have to do is you just have to look for one of the registered members. The KYC process is as you can say, Control C, Control V of what it is in India, and you can onboard yourself. And there is one specific requirement for a client onboarding, which I will talk in the subsequent slides. And the best part is that, whatever you are experiencing as far as NSE market is concerned, in terms of settlement reports, settlement guarantee, everything is in place. And we are appointing global market makers who will give you continuous liquidity. So again, there was another question. When you appoint market makers, you have to pay them, and they will ensure that the bid ask is wide. How will you address that? So again, for the benefit of participants, in US, the market makers pay the retail broking houses. It's not the other way. So at least to start with, we are trying to reimburse the costs for the market maker. But down the line, with the support of members like you, if the liquidity picks up, right, then we don't have to pay the market makers. And the bid ask will be in cents, and the top line, we are going to give 15 shares. So if you want to buy an Amazon, so you will have 15 into 200 DRs at the top line with a bid ask of 1 or a maximum of 2 cents. So this is our assurance to all the members and clients. So to start with, we're going to make the trading available in US hours, and down the line, we will open it during Indian hours also. When we open it in Indian hours, the quotes can be slightly wider for the simple reason that, somebody who's going to sell will not have a market which is open for him to go and hedge. But having said that, at least in the US hours, you can be assured of a tighter bid-ask spreads with a decent quantity at the top line. This is a simple representation or a flow of how everything would work. So there's a market maker who's going to buy Tesla in US. That's point A. And he will deposit with our account with a US custodian. So we have an account with in US DTCC. They will deposit the shares there. And within 4 to 5 hours of depositing the shares in IFSC, what we are going to do is we have appointed a local custodian who's going to act as an issuer. They will create the units and credit the market maker's account in the depository. So which means if I'm let's say for argument's sake, if I'm appointing Citibank as a market maker, Citibank will buy Tesla 10 shares. They will deposit into my account. Then the issuer, depending on the ratio, if Tesla's ratio is 1:50, so 10 into 50 depository receipts will be created and credited to Citibank's account here in Gift City Depository. And Citibank can start selling those units. So to start with, Citibank will play primarily the role of an inventory supplier, because on day one, you will not have any Indian retail investors wanting to sell the stocks. I mean, predominantly it will be on the buy side. So we will have all the Indian investors approaching the market maker to buy the stocks. And down the line, once we have a decent amount of liquidity built in, once we become self-sufficient, the role of the market maker gradually decreases. And this is again a pictorial representation. And here the best part is that you don't need to have, the clients don't need to have a dollar account in Gift City. Anyway, I'm not sure if you can open a dollar account. So what it means is, for example, if Lalitji is a member of NSE IFSC, Lalitji will open a dollar account with one of the banks, ICICI, HDFC, or an Axis. So all the clients of Lalitji using the LRS route will transfer INR, will convert their INR into dollar and credit Lalitji, since is playing the role of a broker, they will credit Lalitji's account. As and when the money is cited here, Lalitji will give you limits and you can start buying your stocks. So we have a concept of a depository. There's going to be a single depository. Since though there are two depositories, NSDL and CDSL, all the activity related to equity, stocks, and other aspects will be managed by NSDL team. If anybody is looking to open a DP account, you have to get in touch with the NSDL team. Though it is a unified depository, there is a clear bifurcation in terms of what services CDSL will do and what services NSDL will do. So, as I was mentioning earlier, we will have a settlement guarantee because we have our own CCP here. The margins, again, similar to what we do in India, we will have a VAR-based approach, initial margin and an exposure margin. And we are doing a settlement of T+3. The US market works on T+2. We are going to do a settlement of T+3. You cannot do naked short, in the sense without having the DRs in your account, you will not be able to sell. And what it also means is if you buy today, you cannot sell it tomorrow unless you cite the DRs into your account. And when compared to the other models through the unregulated platforms or the other frameworks which are being talked about, so here you can do intraday buy and sell. So what it means is, as long as the broker has got 100% margin, because the RBI regulation clearly says the LRS money cannot be used for margin purpose. So if Lalitji is the broker, and if Wispy is buying, let's say, one share of Tesla at $10, and if the margin is, let's say, 20%, I will charge Lalitji only $2 as margin. But Lalitji should ensure that he takes the entire $10 from Wispy. So if during the day, if the stock price goes up to $12, Wispy is more than open to sell that at $12, and the M2M profit cannot be redeployed because the settlement will happen after T+3. But the $10, which is still blocked by the broker, here in the example, Mr. Lalitji, Mr. Wispy can use it to buy some other stock. So there is no restriction on intraday buying and selling, for the simple reason that the trades are being matched in India. But if you're going through any of the platforms or the models prescribed by some of the exchanges, once the trade happens out of the country, they have a system called trades not done in good faith. So there are some limitations and restrictions. We have taken a legal opinion, and we are also putting down an FAQ saying that, you will be able to do intraday buy and sell. And we are coming up with a detailed product disclosure document, a dedicated website, where all the corporate action related filings by the corporates, SEC filings will be displayed. Their US stock prices, along with our DR prices, will be published. And since we are doing a T+3 cycle, we are not conducting an auction. So in case there is a shortage, it will be financially closed out. And the percentage is, we have tried to extrapolate what is happening in India. In India, we do a 20% rate. So we have taken the risk-free rate of India and looked at the 20% rate. And we looked at dollars risk-free rate. A 10-year treasury is around 1.4 or 1.6. So we have done 3 times of it. So close to 4.5 or 5% will be the penalty which will be imposed if you go short on your delivery as far as the DRs are concerned. So from a corporate action perspective, the concept is exactly the same. Like you have a record date, you have an ex date. Here, what we have proposed is that if there is a dividend, see, normally not every US company pays a cash dividend. Very few companies pay a cash dividend, and we have seen that some of them pay 20 cents per share, some of them pay 30 cents. So they're not in huge numbers. And since we are going to do a DR ratio, so for Amazon, if it is 1/200, and if somebody pays only 50 cents, and if I have to again further break that 50 cents into 200 units, the amount which is going to come is minuscule. So we have put a cutoff of 10 cents. If it is only 10 cents and above, we will credit the investor. Otherwise, we will credit the investor protection fund. As we speak, though we have a framework for voluntary corporate actions, we are not going to support. We will, on a best effort basis, we will support. But for all the mandatory, anything to do with stock dividend, when I say stock dividend, I'm referring to bonus, split, consolidation, and any exotic mandatory actions of the US markets, we will definitely support. And from a taxation point of view, so we have in our product disclosure document, which we are going to publish, there is an exclusive and elaborate section. So as most of you must be aware, this zone is completely a tax-free zone. But what happens is when you're trying to take the money out to India, right? So there comes your taxability. So from a long-term taxation point of view, so for Indian residents, it's 20% long-term, and the period of holding is 36 months. It is not what is applicable for equity. And on the cash dividend part, this is the beauty. So India doesn't have a qualified intermediary status. So what does that mean? What it means is, if you're not a qualified intermediary, if you don't have that status, you cannot open an account with DTCC directly. Who's DTCC? DTCC is like our NSDL and CDSL. So we have opened an account with one of the global custodians. So whenever there is a cash dividend, the companies first pay the global custodian, and the global custodian will pay to me, and I will actually pay it back to the investors. So before the payment is made, I have to give a declaration to IRS authority. The tax authority is there, that all the investors who are currently holding the US DRs, so indirectly the US stocks, are non-US persons. So they don't want anyone from US to use a proxy route to invest in DRs, because their taxation norms are completely different. So by giving this declaration, it's called a W8 Ben form, which we have talked about in the subsequent slides. It's mandatory. When you're uploading your KYC, NSE compliance team will insist that you need to send a W8 Ben form. It's a simple one-pager, just to say, I, Nagendra, so-and-so, I'm not a US person. That's it. It doesn't mean anything else. So if that is the case, IRS will do a withholding tax of only 25%. Otherwise, the withholding will be 30%. So this is something very important. But otherwise, as far as this zone is concerned, whatever you do, buy and sell, whatever profits you make here, there is no tax. But when you want to take the money back to India, then our Indian taxation norms kick in. So client onboarding for members, it is very simple. Have your KYC done, upload your UCI files just the way you do it in India. And this W8 Ben form is critical, where, as I was mentioning in the previous slide, it's a one-page declaration and demat accounts, right? So for members who are who want to be DPs, then it's an additional business stream where your clients can open accounts, or you can also open with some of the banks who are already functioning as DPs. And for clients, you don't need to have a dollar account here. What you just need to do is that, you need to transfer funds to your broker's account. And to give a comparison of existing models versus proposed models by some entities and vis-a-vis NSE IFSC framework. So see, most of them are already covered as part of my earlier slides, like, not regulated, higher cost, governance, right? And they're all fintech platforms. But here, when we talk about NSE IFSC, everything happens within the region. Not even a single order goes out of this region. And the best thing is that today, when you get your NSDL statement, you get to see your Reliance holdings, you get to see your mutual fund holdings. Down the line, you will get to see your Amazon holdings. So the whole idea is to give the investors that confidence and comfort that you're trading on the world's largest exchange subsidiary, and the entire model is governed by the unified regulator, which is IFSC. And to extend this further, when you as a broker, when you're going to trade on NSE IFSC platform, you service your clients by placing their orders on my exchange. You're not going to route your orders to some other broker. And you are going to ensure that everything happens in India. And if you're a DP, you're going to have the assets under your custody. You're not going to send your order outside and somebody else is going to own custody of your clients on your behalf. That is the last thing, some of the retail brokers would want to do. And the contract note is issued by you, because I'm going to give you the trade confirmation and order confirmation, and you will be responsible for issuing contract notes. And the funds will come into your account, and it is not going to go out of the country. The funds will come to your account in GIFT City and not to some other broker's account. And as I was mentioning earlier, and by participating in this product on NSE IFSC, I think, all of you will play a significant role to contribute to the region's growth, and at the same time play a big role and responsibility in building our Prime Minister's vision of making this zone a truly international zone. And the key benefits, we have already talked about it earlier. fractional trading, that's the wow. And the third bullet is something very interesting. For the first time, US stocks are traded outside US in dollar terms. And this is one of the path-breaking initiatives that NSE has come up with. And I would urge all the members to approach us, to connect with us, and we'll be more than happy to give further insights. And it is a matter of another few days. I mean, we have been saying this for quite some time. And it's like the Pareto's principle. I mean, we have done 90% of the job quickly, and the last 10% is what is hitting us hard. But having said that, we are sure with the support of IFSCA, we will be able to cross that milestone as well. And some of the marketing things that we have done, if anybody is looking for a slice of apple, I mean, NSE IFSC is the place. And if you want to offer services to client by giving them diversified mix of stocks to invest, please come to us. We have also set up a dedicated help desk, so which will work almost 20 plus hours. And we have our team, Suzy, Kundan, Ishank, Dharmesh, and Nitesh. I will share all the numbers to the BBF team. So at any point of time, if anyone wants further insights on how to take this forward, we will be at your service. That's our offering to the investing community. And thanks once again, Lalitji and Ms. PG, for giving me this opportunity. And I'm happy to respond or clarify any queries that the members will have. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Nagendra, for this wonderful, informative presentation. I'm sure there would be a lot of questions, a lot of clarifications. So we request the members to kindly raise their virtual hand so we can allow you, and one by one, you can start asking questions, please. Nagendra, the first question is, what is the eligible criteria for investment by retail investors?
So there is no eligible criteria as long as you are already enabled as a client. Let's say he is a client of you or Mr. Lalitji, you have already done the KYC, and they can just identify a broker here. If both of you are already registered as brokers, you can just onboard them. It is the same KYC. You don't have to, because IFSC has not come up with exclusive KYC norms for this jurisdiction. It's the same KYC. You can just pull that KYC, onboard them, and $250,000 per year is the eligibility defined as the maximum amount that you can transfer. So as an LRS amount. So other than that, there is absolutely no specific eligibility.
What is the scenario for arbitration in case of any dispute?
So we are working with IFSCA on creating an arbitration center here. So that is not just for these products, but it is for the entire zone per se. So which will come out shortly. Thank you.
Members, you can raise your virtual hands to ask your questions, please. One more question has come. What about the corporate benefits that come in international investments?
So as I was mentioning earlier, if there are any mandatory corporate actions, we service them. And if it's voluntary, we don't. So I'm not sure if I've answered that question. So if you're having a holding and if the company comes up with, let's say, a stock dividend of 1:1 or 1:2, whatever may be the ratio, depending on the holdings that you have, we fix up a record date and the next date. And as and when the shares are, the bonus shares are credited to my account at US, within 3-4 hours of that, we will credit with appropriate DRs in your account. Thank you, Vispiji.
Nagendra, you can stop the screen share if possible. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No problem.
Done.
Yes. There's a question. We are a member of NSE, but not NSE IFSC. How can we participate?
So you need to become a member of NSE IFSC. You please let me know. I'll send my team right away. So it's a simple process. It's a simple process. We have just we will share that slides also, Vispiji and Lalitji. So we have given that there are some 6 to 7 activities which you have to adhere to become a member, right? From taking an NOC from our regulator here, going to SEBI. You have to set up a subsidiary. You have an option to set up a branch as well. But when you set up a branch, there are challenges in terms of the fund remittance. So we need to get some clarity from RBI. So today, RBI allows you to remit 15% for setup and some percentage for your operational expenses. But if you want to do prop trading and all, in a branch setup, it is not clearly indicated. So to set up a subsidiary, you have to approach both the regulators. You please come to us, and it will become our responsibility to ensure that you become a member. We'll be more than happy to help you and serve you.
Aditya, you wanted to ask your question?
Yes, sir. Sir, one of the questions was, can one do an SIP? An SIP in these international stocks every month? Can a retail investor put small amount and can buy?
Sir, it is an offering by the broker, right? If it is a value add by you. I'm not going to stop anything, right? And I forgot to mention. So I've been with NSE since inception. I moved out of NSE in between, came back. So always in this field of capital markets, I've seen international markets. I worked in a couple of international markets also. But this is the first time I'm working with a regulator who's hungry for business. When I say hungry for business, they are hungry to develop the region. So they're looking for innovation. They are much more forward-looking. If there is any innovative idea, till date, I mean, there has never been a single proposal where we have gone with a proposal to say that, this is the benefit that will create for the region, for the market, and for the investing community. And it has always been an S. I mean, the chairman is so dynamic, and Mr. Indrati Srinivas, and we have Mr. Manoj Kumar, who's from ex-SEBI. He and his team have also been fully supportive on this model. And if there is an innovation, I think, I want each one of you to come forward and express, so that, we'll be more than happy to, work with the regulator and see how we can implement. But Aditya ji, to answer to your question, it is a value add from your end. And as an exchange, we will be more than happy to support that model.
There's a question. Do a retail client need to procure USD before every trade? What will be easy mode from them to do business easily?
See, that's an interesting question. See, if you have to trade out of the country, you have to stick to the rules of the land, right? RBI clearly says that LRS money is only for investment purpose. And the moment INR is transferred there, let's take, for example, ICICI Bank, right? And let's say Vispiji, aapka idhar account Axis Bank mein hai. Abhi US dollar mein, what happens is that, it goes to, there is a concept called Nostro. Every domestic bank has a US bank as a Nostro bank. So ICICI Nostro can be JP Morgan, and aapka Axis Bank or Nostro can be Citibank. So first, INR should get converted into dollar, hit the Nostro of ICICI, and from there it gets transferred to Citi, and Citi will confirm to Axis. So this process, as we speak, takes anything between, if the Nostros are the same, the sighting will happen immediately. If the Nostros are different, it can take anything between 10 hours I mean, again, 10 hours is a very aggressive time frame that I'm giving. आप आराम से 15 घंटा तो ले सकते हैं. So to answer to that question, you have to adequately have funds in your account with the broker before you execute the transaction. Because if the broker allows you to do that, then the broker is non-compliant. So let's ensure that we stick to this basic framework. Down the line, maybe we can look for margin funding and other aspects. But to start with, this is how the system works.
What impact will have on country dollar reserve ratio if we invest in US stocks?
Somebody has asked me a very macroeconomic technical level question. No, I'll put it in simple terms. I mean, it is not that flows are not going out of the country, right? If you look at some of the mutual funds, they can invest close to $1 billion, right? And some of the funds have already restricted themselves from, taking more money. And if we look at last year's RBI numbers, close to 500 million have already gone through the LRS route. It is not that money is not going. What we are saying is, boss, instead of going through a route which is not regulated, please come to us. That's what we are saying. And the money is coming here. I'm not sending the money out of the country, right? It is all in the GIFT jurisdiction. That is what the government wants. They want all the transactions to happen within GIFT City zone. So another example is the SGX Connect that we are doing. Nifty is trading in Singapore today. What is the vision of the Prime Minister? He wants to onshore the offshore. So whatever transactions are happening in Singapore, we are going to bring back to GIFT NSE IFSC. So we are completely aligned with the government's objectives, and at the same time, we are well aware of what is happening. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel or disturb the existing economic structure. Whatever is happening, we are trying to give a governance framework. Today, it's completely not regulated. So we are trying to do everything within the regulatory framework. Thank you.
So continuing to that, again, it's a question that two questions, same thing. Any update on SGX starting operations from IFSC? And if Singapore Exchange or SGX Nifty volume can come to NSE IFSC exchange, your views?
Our IFSC chairman on SGX. So not all members, it is unlike our markets, there we are not in a position to enforce them to all of them to come on a particular date, though there is a cutoff date. So what we intend to do is, as and when members are ready, once they are complete with their process, we will gradually ship them. But phase 1 will go live in April. We are doing our best to meet that deadline. And one fine day, 100% this calendar year, we hope to completely move the volumes. So 7 billion is the open interest, 7 billion, and 3 billion is the daily average Nifty volumes that we expect to run out of my exchange, our exchange here at NSE IFSC.
The question is, what is the tax implication on the investment done by retail investors?
So I had put that in the slide. So when you are trading here in NSE IFSC, right, you bought it, let's say Tesla, you bought at $10, and it's gone to $100. It's absolutely not an issue, because here there is no taxation. But when you take that $100 back into the country, see, you have to file a return there, right? So at that point of time, depending on whether it is a long term or a short term, there is a tax implication. So what I would advise all the members and clients is, we have a detailed product disclosure document, which is going to be on our website soon. I'll keep BBF management team informed as and when we post it. And I can bring in tax consultants, because it has got some taxation language also. To simplify things, we can bring some tax experts, so that only on these aspects we can have an exclusive session with the management team. You can in turn pass it on to your members for their better understanding. So you give us a matter of few days, I'll come back to you on this. But net, This zone does not have any tax, but when you're taking the money out, because you have to file your returns in India, there the Indian taxation norms kick in.
Some members are typing questions, some other are raising hands. So I request you to kindly raise your hand so it becomes faster. Please raise your virtual hands.
Vispy, whatever questions I'm able to see on the chat, I'm trying to respond. Somebody asked,
yes. Right.
Do we have to open the separate bank accounts? I said no bank accounts for clients.
Right.
What stocks are going to be available? They're going to start with S&P 500. I'll again repeat, we are not restricting ourselves to US markets. I gave a strong reason as why US markets are the preferred markets, because today's younger generation, they cannot relate themselves to Reliance or TCS, but they are able to Reliance to what they see on their mobile phones. So that's the whole idea. And we have done a detailed analysis, and we have also seen where the flows go. And US is on the top of the list. So we thought, let's start with the big fish and gradually expand to the Thank you.
Yes. NSDL depository required for this type of trading. We have CDSL depository.
So India has got two jurisdictions. One is India, one is IFSC. In India, you have two depositories, but here there's going to be only one depository. So in terms of, you can approach either NSDL or CDSL, right? Because it's one team here. So they will definitely help you in opening an account, but the services will be offered by NSDL team. It is just from a servicing perspective, but it is just one team, whether it is NSDL, CDSL. Here we are going to go by the name like an integrated depository.
We are a DP along with taking. I think so. It's the same question, but I just for the members, we are a DP of CDSL along with NSC and BSC membership, along with taking membership of NSE IFSC. Do we need to take another DP membership?
Yes. See, this is a completely different jurisdiction, right? Because you cannot hold US stocks in your onshore DP account. Since it's a dollar zone, your account has to be different and everything has to be different. Your broking has to be different. Your DP account has to be different. Your bank account has to be different. As a broker.
Aditya, you want to ask?
Sir, basically, wanted to just understand one thing, that when basically global markets are so volatile, like NASDAQ, if you see, it has stumbled like anything. So if an investor is investing from here, then what kind of guidance and other things he will be getting? Is there any research mechanism? Because an investor who just wants to invest abroad without any knowledge is likely to get into more volatile markets.
So that's a very interesting question that you've asked. So as an infrastructure provider, I will give you a regulated framework with adequate investor protection support, settlement guarantee, and all those aspects. So nobody can predict the volatility, nor nobody can predict the intrinsic value of a particular investment. But having said that, I think we have been approached by a lot of members who want to start offering advisory services. So from our side, purely from an investor education perspective, we are going to give all the details pertaining to that particular company, whatever they have filed in SEC and all those details. So NSE always, we go with the tagline, right? Sochkar, samajkar, invest kar. We don't want people to blindly invest. They have to do their adequate due diligence, because end of the day, see, equity investment is a risky investment, right? So volatility, not just NASDAQ, sir, Nifty bhi gira. So it is a global trend. So having said that, we are doing our best to keep the investors educated and aware of the implications. Thank you, sir.
A member is asking that if there is the jurisdiction for arbitration, whether it would be India or international laws are applicable in case of any dispute arises.
So this arbitration question was already asked, right? So there are different manifold discussions which are going on. So since there is, I don't have a clarity, I will not be competent enough to respond at this point of time. But having said that, we should be expecting some clear guidance and clear picture in the next couple of weeks, Mr. Vispi. I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to respond to this. My apologies.
Because a lot of members had asked the same question again and again.
Yes. I completely understand. This is one question where I myself know that we are not in a position to give this, but we will take it as an action item so that the community is well aware of the norms.
Fair. Members, would you like to ask any more questions, please? Any clarifications? Nagendra, some of them are asking that if they would like to connect with NSE IFSC for this particular product, would there be any agreements or disclosure which with the broker or the securities firm has to get into with NSE IFSC? If yes, with whom to connect with and to take it forward?
Vispi, see, we are an exchange, right? I mean, so obviously, if any of the BBF members want to work with us, they have to become a member, right? So for becoming a member, as I was mentioning earlier, you can either, if you're regulated by SEBI, you can either set up a branch or you can set up a subsidiary. All the 72 members who have got registered and the 36 who are enabled, right? They are all subsidiary here. So when you set up a subsidiary, there is a guideline on how much money you can remit. But if it's a branch, there is still some open areas on which we are engaged with one of the tax consultants to seek some clarity from RBI. So the first step is you need to set up a shop here, be it a subsidiary or a branch. Take appropriate no objection certificates from the foreign regulator here and SEBI, which is your home regulator. Then you need to get some approvals from the Development Commission. And that's it, you're good to go. And give us some work. I mean, we will be more than happy to, work overtime to get members enabled here. End of the day, if NSE is the world's largest exchange, it is because of members like you, right? If I have to replicate what my parents have done in Bombay, right, we have to do a similar service here. So we are more than happy to work with your team. If you want somebody to come down to your offices in Bombay, I can send my team as well there.
I think so, Nagendra, yes, you can send us the contact info. So any broking member or our member connects with us for further information, yes. We can send it, we can share those officials' number and they can take it forward from there. So
done, sir. Done. I'll do that, sir. Right away.
Any member would like to ask any further question, please raise your hands or you can type in the question. Please let us know. There's one question. US markets currently have 70% plus trade through algo system. As an infrastructure provider, do we enable this in IFSC?
So see, algos are everywhere. I mean, it is not just US, right? We have algos in India also, but the percentage differs. And for the benefit of all the participating members, because when I take my lecture in some of the leading business schools, I have a session on US markets. So 36%, I think close to 30 to 36% of their business is OTC in nature. So which means as a client, when I send an order to my broker has got a choice to send it to either HFT guy or he has to, he can send it to any of the exchanges or dark pools. So the market is highly fragmented, but having said that, the 70% algo, I'm not sure on that number. But as far as here it is concerned, since retail investors are going to trade, for somebody who's going to make markets for me, obviously they need to have their algo set up. And the prop brokers who are going to trade, they can have their algo set up. So we don't see a challenge in terms of enabling members wanting to trade algo on this particular product.
Any member would like to ask any questions? I think yes.
I just wanted to say one point as a closing note. See, today we talked about various models and other things. In all those models, when you people trade or many of the clients trading, you're contributing to the growth of some other exchange which is not in India, right? And you might say that you bought 10 Tesla, but you're not contributing to the growth of your jurisdiction or your exchanges or your community here. So, but even if I trade 5 stocks on my NSE IFSC, I can proudly say that Indian retail investors have bought 5 shares of Amazon. So that's the fundamental difference. I mean, we have taken this initiative so that, we are completely aligned with the thought process and the objectives of the government to build this particular region. So I would urge and request every one of you to leverage on this brilliant opportunity, which has come in the form of this product. And NSE and me and my team are fully committed and will be at your service. Thank you so much once again, Lalitji and Ms. PG.
Thank you, Nagendra, for this wonderful presentation and Q&A. I'm sure there would be, we have answered a lot of questions, but I'm sure there would be a lot of other questions and clarifications thereafter also. So members, as you know, that the video would be live on our website. The PPT would also be placed on our website. Still, if you have any further doubts, please write to us so we can connect with Nagendra and his team. On that note, once again, Nagendra, thank you very much for giving your valuable time. Before we conclude, Lalitji, just few remarks from your side.
Thank you so much, Nagendraji. It has been a lot of learning today. Many new things learned, and for all of us. And we will eagerly wait for one more session, actually, maybe after a month, when the actual operations have begun. And we have friends amongst us who have actually traded, and then they can also share their experiences. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you.
God bless all.
For your time. Bye-bye.